with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. And Clerk Robertson, would you please call the roll?
I would be happy to call the roll, Mr. Supervisor. Trustee Hugo?
Here.
Trustee Fike is absent. Trustee Raridan? Here. Trustee White?
Here.
Treasurer Kilmer?
Here.
Myself, of course, I'm here. Supervisor Bennett?
Here.
6 members present, a quorum.
Thank you. And now we'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. Motion by Ms. Hugo, supported by Dr. Raridan.
Motion by Hugo, supported by Raridan for the agenda. Trustee Raridan?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll entertain public comments, if anybody would care to. We've got, yes, come on up, please. We have Alice Grover.
You want my address too?
No.
Okay,
Thank you, though.
thank you. I have a couple of quick questions and then one for whenever it suits you this evening. I want to make sure that the special revenue funds, which total about 15 million, are totally separate from the general fund. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And from the point of view of upgrades to the bathrooms, I'm curious to know if we will continue to meet here, and therefore those right out in the hallway will be the public bathrooms, or will that change when the whole kit and caboodle moves around the corner?
All right. We'll cover
And then the third one, which is the one that will really take a little bit more time perhaps, is under the general fund expenditures. I noticed that something called appropriations for, excuse me, $2,761 and change, which is about 9.3% of the general fund expenditures. I'd like to know what that is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Grover. Okay, with that, Ms. Hugo has filled out the form to make public comment.
Did, and I'm going to go to the podium.
Okay.
I think the last time I was up here, I was asking for my roads to be redone.
There you go. See what happened?
See what happened?
Careful this time.
Yes. My name is Sarah Hugo. I would first like to publicly thank the residents of Grand Blanc Township for their continued trust and support in our board members. Congratulations to each member of the Grand Blanc Township Board on a successful election. This win is a testament to the hard work and dedication we have brought to our community. Working alongside all of you has been an incredible experience, and I am constantly inspired by the commitment, passion, and expertise you bring to the board. Together, we have achieved so much, and I have no doubt we'll continue to make meaningful progress. Under Supervisor Bennett's outstanding leadership, we have formed a strong, cohesive team that truly prioritizes the needs of our residents. His guidance has fostered a collaborative environment where we all bring our unique strengths and perspectives to the table. Creating a board that is not only effective but also deeply supportive of each other. I'm proud of what we have built together, and I look forward to continuing this journey with all of you as we work to make Grand Blanc Township an even better place to live, work, and thrive. Here's to the next chapter.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Hugo.
Thank you.
Appreciate those very kind words. I'll make some more comment towards the end, but anybody else wish to make public comment? Okay, see no further public comment, bring it back here to the board. And first item is public hearing for the proposed general fund and special revenue fund budgets for fiscal year 2025. The property tax millage rates proposed to be levied to support the proposed budgets will be a subject of this hearing. Mr. Limata?
So you open up the public hearing to take any comments that anybody might want to have on the general fund or special revenue fund budgets, as well as the property tax millage rates. You guys did the L 4029 to submit to the county back in September. but all the millage rates were listed on there. And I do want to point out that your operating millage for collection on this 2024 tax rate request is at 4.3876. I know you often hear people say that the taxes continue to go up in Grand Blanc Township. And I just want to point out that that operating millage, which you're authorized up to 5 mills without a vote of the taxpayers, has rolled back due to the Headley Amendment and the rollbacks, and we're really collecting 4.3876 for your operating millage. Obviously, there are some other voted-in millages for police, mosquito, fire, and parks and recreation. But that's just kind of a high point of, you haven't raised taxes. The operating millage is actually lower. It's gone down. And in fact, if you look in our most recent financial audit and take a look at where our operating millage was in 2014, it was at 4.5531, and it has continued to decrease to, like I said, 4.3876 today. All of the other millages were voter approved.
So we're decreasing taxes.
Taxes have actually decreased as far as operating millage goes. If you look
Yes.
at the county-wide and when they pay their tax bill, yeah, they've gone up from 53.6 in
Right.
2014 to 57.9, but those are all of the school millages, the county millages, and so as much as you guys take the brunt of why are my taxes continue to go up, it's because people vote yes on county-wide millages for other agencies.
Yet our millage rate is going down. Yeah, and, you know, if inflation continues, we'll have another, hit the maximum of 5% with the Headley Amendment again this year, hopefully. I don't know, when do they come out with that figure statewide?
It's out, came out in October, 3.1.
Okay, so it's not at 5%?
It's not 5% for, you know, it was 5% max, and it never hit from 1990 on. We finally hit it. We hit it 2 years in a row, so people saw that.
Right.
You know, that inflation factor. This year, it's going to be 3.1. So again, it's higher than historically it has been, but it's not maxed out at the 5.
Right.
Due to inflation the prior 2 years. Also, to answer Ms. Grover's question about the appropriations and what's all included in that $2.7 million. That's where we transfer out funds from the general fund to other funds, including Parks and Recreation, $609,847. The building inspection, transfer the building fund, it covers 85% of code enforcement operations. That's $153,928. Post-employment benefits to pay for legacy costs, $745,845. The campus projects transfer out is for the bond payments for the police department build, $751,675. And then a transfer to our capital projects fund balance of $500,000 to pay for future capital expenses. Yeah.
And then, Mr. Lingman, if you could just briefly touch on the special revenue fund and that being what that all is about. Those funds are separate. We invest them together but however, we keep them separate.
We maintain them separate and treat them almost like a business fund versus the governmental funds. That includes the Parks and Recreation Fund, the Solid Waste Fund, the Building Department, which we have to track separately. That includes the PEG funds and other minor funds. The PEGs is public education funds that we get from cable franchise fees, drug forfeiture funds that we receive through the community development block grant funds, federal law enforcement grant funds, and then like recently the opioid settlement funds, the DDA debt fund, capital projects, and finally municipal campus funds for the building.
Okay, so anything else to comment on before we open it up for any public comment?
Well, I opened the meeting, the public hearing at 6:06 when Superintendent
Sorry.
Limita started speaking
Okay,
on the issue.
all right. Does anybody have any comments or concerns that they'd like to raise during the public hearing portion here? Okay, seeing no comment, we'll close the public comment and bring it,
12 PM, sir.
thank you. Bring it back to the board. And anything else with regard to that? Mr. Lemata?
Nope,
Anything?
we'll discuss when we get to new business and you move to the resolutions to
Right.
approve the budget.
Exactly. Okay, moving on to approval of the consent agenda. If anyone cares to make a motion, Mr. White makes that motion, supported by Mr. Kilmer.
Motion by White, supported by Kilmer on the consent agenda.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Raritan.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Under new business, item A, the board will consider resolution 24-39 to approve the 2025 general fund budget. We've looked at this for several months now. Dr. Reardon, you're making the motion, supported by Ms. Hugo.
Motion by Raritan, supported by Hugo. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raritan.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Item B, the board will consider resolution 24-40 to approve the 2025 special revenue funds budget. Any questions on that? We've discussed that.
I'll make the motion if you may, Ms.
Okay.
Motion by Robertson, supported
Supported by Treasurer Kilmer.
Treasurer Kilmer, okay? Supported by Kilmer. Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Raritan.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes. Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. And thank you to our superintendent and to our finance department, Kathy Solstack and her team for working on that. We pass it with one vote, but they've been working on this for the last 6 months, and we appreciate all your effort and energy, you guys, that you put into this, and with all your department heads to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. And I know you have to make decisions on what we can afford, what we can't, what's on the wish list, and we appreciate the hard work you put in on that.
Thank you for recognizing the staff. If assessing doesn't get their job right and get the values correct on the properties, we're in trouble because we're going to be challenged in Michigan tax tribunals. But really hats off to Kathy Sostak, Finance Director, and her department, because this is a tremendous amount of work. You're right, it starts in June, really, to start putting everything together and including ending last Friday, staying late, working late to finalize any amendments to the 2025 to move forward. You will see some amendments coming out for the 2024 budget, probably in December, or either at your next meeting or the meeting after to close out 2024. But I really want to say credit goes to Kathy and her team. They do a phenomenal job year after year after year. This year was no different. The amount of work and time and effort that she puts in to make sure that we deliver that balanced budget. And we've continued to grow. You guys know the general fund total operating revenue of $29,592,000 this year is one of the largest general fund budgets we've had. Of course, we're in the process of doing some big special assessment districts next year. We've got two that are about $3.6 million each, and that's going to be included in those fund totals. But it really gives you an idea of what we're the amount of money that goes through. And thanks to this board, because you guys have been fantastic working through these processes for the last 4 years. Budgeting is always a challenge. It's limited resources that you have to allocate. I do feel that 2025 budget is going to continue the work on your strategic plan items that you have provided us as you get ready to move into the next 4 years, and you set a new strategic agenda for us to carry out. So thank you.
Yeah, the challenging part is that we can't print money here, and we do have a limited budget, but we have an unlimited want list or wish list from both the public and, many of us would love to see us be able to do a lot more public, projects, what have you, whether it's sidewalks down every street or pathways or community buildings, whatever, but a lot of what we put money towards and devote money towards, people will never see. It's things like paying down debt, making sure that the promises that we made to former employees and current employees are able to be kept in the future. So I know it's, overused term sometimes, but we're planting trees, whose shade we'll never sit in. And, but it's, incumbent on the board to make those kind of decisions to do things that are for the good of the future and not necessarily just spending money to make people happy today. So I appreciate the board and their focus on what's really important here. And I think we've made great decisions with your guidance, Dennis, and your team to make sure the decisions that we're making financially are for the future as well as what's good for today and looks good for today. So with that,
Item 8C, Mr.
we'll move to item C, and the board will consider a motion to approve Phase 2 of the Police Department lighting upgrade. We have a quote from Great Lakes Power and Lighting for $49,950, and authorize the Township Superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents and POs. I got to say, the parking lot over there, which at the police department looks fabulous. If anybody hadn't seen it before we paved it, it was very rough shape. The whole thing was pretty much alligatored and starting to have some severe divots in it, and I think it turned out really good. So great job to you and your department.
Thank you.
Al?
Good evening. Before you tonight is the Phase 2 of a lighting project that we've been working on for a few years over the PD. With the aging fluorescent bulbs, the on and off, its energy costs, its ballast costs. We did the first phase, got all the pretty much common areas and whatnot. Now we're trying to get into the offices and stuff like that. So we've been foregoing electrical repairs because why spend money on an electrician to repair a high-energy bulb when we need to replace them. So this was supposed to go last year. We rolled it over to this year. It's in the budget. We solicited a few contractors, and we got Great Lakes Power and Lighting. They done work with the city of Pontiac before. They came in cheaper than what we budget for, so it is a cost savings in the 2024 budget for this.
I'm sure it'll be a cost savings going forward, too.
Absolutely. So we'll get energy rebates through consumer energy based on the wattage that we're saving on that, so.
So some of this will be reimbursed.
Yes, yes.
Okay, any questions? Making the motion, Ms. Hugo? Okay,
Okay, item 8C, motion by Hugo,
I'll support it.
supported by Bennett. Let's see, trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, item D, the board will consider a motion to approve expenses in the amount of $25,000 for a bathroom remodel project in Township Hall. We were looking at bringing porta-johns in, right, for
Yes,
putting them out in the front of the building?
yeah, we'll do that. Only the best. We'll get the ones on the trailers with the
Okay.
air conditioning.
I know some people that have those rent to
I
rent.
got the Ally.
Yeah.
So this is part of an ongoing branding, capital improvement of the building. We're going to just update some minor improvements on the bathrooms here in the lobbies and a couple employee bathrooms that haven't been updated since 1991.
Right.
So before you, there's several quotes from independent contractors, kind of doing a lot of it in-house. We've got some DPW employees that Brian, who did the major part of this auditorium involved, and we're gonna, with the help of subcontractors and him, we're gonna do some light renovations.
And probably the employee bathrooms are, these bathrooms probably aren't going to get a whole lot, I would guess. It's probably the employee
It's
bathrooms. are
a
pretty
couple of
rough shape.
employees, yes, because they were renovated in '91, I think, Jude. You can
I thought they
have your
were,
memory banks there.
I thought they were even older than that, but,
That was a '91 remodel when we
really?
were in the PD, yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah. And this was 98-ish.
So we won't have to have any temporary for the public coming to board?
No, so I had to get with the contractor, so we're replacing the sinks and vanities, we're leaving the stalls, we're gonna clean the tile, we're gonna do some painting and update a couple light fixtures and do the ceiling tiles in there, so it won't be too much of an inconvenience, but
We have other restrooms that,
yes, we'll have to figure something out, but
we won't make them use the porta johns.
we wanted to wait till after the election since, we had a lot of traffic in here, if you guys didn't notice.
Yeah, there was a little bit of traffic in here.
Just a little bit, so.
Actually, the last 3 months.
The answer, Ms. Grover's asked about, will we still be meeting in here when we open up the new facilities? Yes. We've resigned ourselves to the fact that for those of us, the administration wing, we're probably going to be living in this building for quite some time, before we would think about building a new actual township office complex. So the auditorium will remain in use here for the foreseeable future. So, yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Is a motion in order, Mr. Supervisor?
Dr. Reardon makes that motion,
Okay.
and Ms. Hugo supports
Ms.
it.
Hugo supports it on item 8D. Okay, yes, okay, item 8D. Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee Reardon?
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes,
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you.
thank you. Item E, the board will consider a motion to approve the local governing body resolution for a charitable gaming license for Reed Elementary PTO through the Charitable Gaming Division of the Michigan Lottery. So this is something that is pretty standard, that anybody that wants to have charitable gaming event or lottery raffle, they need to come through the township, is what's required by the state, and typically, we don't have too many questions unless, I guess, with a questionable organization, but making that motion, Mr. White? Okay, supported by Ms. Hugo.
Motion by White, supported by Hugo. Item 8E. Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Reardon?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Item F, the board will consider a motion to approve the audiovisual equipment build and installation quote from CTI for the new DPW and Fire Station Number 1 facility for $191,402.11, and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related contracts, documents, and POs.
Evening, again.
Saw you sit down, I didn't realize you came back.
Quick, very sneaky. So this is, there's some out-of-contract purchases that the owner is going to furnish, and one of it's the audio-video equipment for having conferences and meetings for the community room that's going to be over there, and the conference rooms for both DPW and fire. We chose CTI because they have done all our audio-visual stuff here, and they do the servicing on it. We wanted to keep everything uniform.
Very good. Any questions, concerns? No. Okay, somebody care to make the motion? Ms. Hugo makes the motion, supported by Treasurer Kilmer.
Motion by Hugo, supported by Kilmer. Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee Reardon?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Boggs. Item G, the board will review the township fee schedule to be approved at a later date. Mr. Lemata?
Normally, the fee schedule comes to you at the same time that you're approving the budget, because these fees do go to support what we put in for the general fund budget. However, the DPW budget was still being completed, and we wanted to make sure, before we adopted the fee schedule, that we had the updated DPW request for any changes to their fee schedule on meter charges or commodity charge or any of that. So this is what it looks like before those updates. We wanted you to have it so that you're seeing it as part of the overall package. It'd be included in the packet to support it, but you will see it before the end of the year as they were finalizing their DPW budget. Hard copies will be handed out to the board this evening. So you guys will leave here with hard copies, give you some time to review it. Again, it's important that you pass resolutions for the appropriation of general fund and special revenue funds. Legally, you're not required to pass the DPW budget. We have always done it since I've been here because I think it's important that it shows that the board has acknowledged where we're at and that you support the work that's being done by the DPW. And said they're going to give you the hard copies. They've been working on it right up to the last minute here. So you'll have the hard copies to review, and then we will have both Alan and Greg here at your next meeting or whenever you guys are prepared to review it for consideration review, and we'll have you adopt the fee schedule at that time. But I wanted to explain to you why the fee schedule wasn't just being included when you adopted the budget.
Okay. Very good, understandable. Okay, with that, future agenda items. Well, as we said, this is the last board meeting for this current board. And one of the things that I've spoken with Mr. Limata about is I think one of the things that really helped this board to get off to a good start was that, the board was very amenable to sitting down with a facilitator and going through what the expectations were that we each had for each of the various roles that we play on this board. And then, we came to some agreement on what that is, even on how we were going to conduct ourselves as a board and, what some of our policies, whether they be informal or formal in terms of, we had an agreement in terms of adding things to the agenda at the last minute, and things of that nature, having meetings outside of here or what have you. And I think it worked very well for this board to come to that agreement early on. I want to do that again with this next board. The other thing that we did was about 2 months later, I believe it was, we met here for a workshop and we went through, what it was that we wanted to accomplish. And I know we went through our accomplishments a couple weeks ago at our meeting. And, I brought up that we wanted to make sure we each felt that we wanted to do more than just approve purchase of items, and we wanted to have a legacy of accomplishment. And we did that by mapping out some ideas of what we wanted to see happen. Dennis pulled together the department heads to say, hey, here's what the board's blue sky plan is. How do we make this happen? The department heads looked at their budgets, looked at, where we wanted to go, and then we mapped out how we got there. But when you look at what's been accomplished over the past 4 years, I know that list is 3 pages long, but the work that went into each one of those items is immense. I think back just, for example, for IT. I mean, I remember we were concerned that, if something happened, we could be really in a bad place. We've done so much in that area. We've done so much in so many areas that I think that it behooved this board, putting that plan together and meeting did us very well for this township. And I want to do that again with the new board where we meet. And since everybody, with the exception of Mark, will be continuing on, I think we want to do that again and map out what our expectations are for one another. Talk a little bit about what, the state says that our responsibilities are in each of our roles. But then a few months from that meeting is come back together and map out what it is we want to continue with that might not have been accomplished completely yet on the strategic plan, and then also what it is that we've seen that we want to move towards. The one benefit we have this time is we have the survey that the results came back in the last month here. So it's very fresh information on what the public would like to see us do and what their hopes and wishes are, including, I guess, taking over the downtown area, right? I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that if we want to, but I know that was in their plan, but...
Methinks the city will object.
Yeah, and also to buy the Jewel Golf Course, which is not in the township. So we may have to modify some of the responses in the survey that came back, but I know that there's a lot of useful information in there that we've already, Dennis and I have started talking about in terms of what we see that we can work towards accomplishing. But I think that's where we want to go with future strategic planning for the 25 through 28 time period. But anybody have any thoughts in that regard?
Actually, they've tried before to combine the city and the township.
Right.
A couple of times.
Yes. No, I'm not saying, I just want everybody to know I'm not saying that that's where we're going. I'm just saying that the survey came back that people were confused as to where the township is. So I think,
Let's just take a vote.
yeah, one of the things I think we want to do is help educate people on where the township boundaries are. And, somebody told me, hey, I want a welcome to Grand Blanc Township sign right across from the one that says, welcome to the city. And I said, well, the only problem is that line is not a straight line across, for example, Saginaw Street. The city continues down Saginaw Street on the one side, but it doesn't on the other. And they said, really? I'm like, yes. So we couldn't have a sign, welcome to the township, even with theirs, because the township doesn't start on the other side of the street. So,
Actually, Scott, I think it starts with that Happy Care.
yeah, over
thing
there,
on one-
sure.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So I think educating our public, came out in that survey too, as far as where our boundaries are and some of those things. But Dennis, anything as far as strategic planning goes you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I did have a conversation with Dr. Lou Bender earlier today to look for some dates, potential dates for the board. And he's going to be here on the 13th and 14th of January because he's doing some work with our Department of Public Services right now. And so on that Monday evening of January 13th, if the board was available, maybe like a 5 or 5:30 start and just maybe up to a 3-hour meeting or less to do that expectations and stuff that Supervisor Bennett talked about. And then he has 3 dates available for March and April. If you want to do a full day of the strategic plan like we did before, I think we did on a Saturday and we just knocked it out in a full day. And I can give you those dates as well, or we can choose those later, but he does have right now. But would January 13th, because I did tell him I would get back to him on that one, if you think that would work for, obviously we'll have to check with Trustee Fike and Treasurer Yancho for the future.
What do you think, Dr. Reardon, that work for you?
It likely would.
Okay. Ms. Hugo, looks good? Mr. White?
So I'll do a hold the date for Dr. Bender.
Yes.
And
Let's
then
do
the
that.
other dates, and again, we can decide on these after, but March 15th, April 5th, or April 19th are also 3 available dates for a Saturday for the strategic planning session.
All right.
And maybe we can discuss that and give them that information in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. I think we can,
I'd also just like to say, this seated board and the ability to embrace the strategic plan like you did really led to your success. I think what it did for us as a staff is it really gave us a roadmap for what you wanted to do and provided that clear direction. So it took some of the ambiguity out of what the board wanted us to work on and allowed us to focus our efforts and to go after the things that were important to you. I look forward to where you want us to go in the next 4 years. Congratulations, by the way, to all of you, including Treasurer Kilmer, because he doesn't have to come here anymore. Treasurer Kilmer, Mark, thank you for your service for the last 4 years, and I'm very heartfelt in saying that we really do appreciate your contributions to our success. But this board and the way you embraced it has made a big difference. I hope we continue on in that trajectory. Scott, you mentioned when we talked about the community survey, and then, of course, the nerve-wracking PTSD that we all go through when we're going through the vote totals on election night. I'm really glad the 6 of you are here. I'm glad that the township voters saw that and got it right and moved you guys forward based upon the success, based upon that customer or survey that we did for the residents to really, you saw what they weighed in at. They're really happy with the service that you guys are delivering. And it also shows that we have some work to do because there were some, people who didn't vote for you, and I'm shocked, quite frankly, based upon the success of the township and what you guys accomplished in those 4 years. It has been incredible. And I speak on behalf of the staff when I say, as a whole, we were all really hoping that this board remained intact because of your leadership and because of the guidance that you provided for us. So thank you for running. Thank you for putting your names out there again for another 4 years. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all the folks who participated in the process of getting our next board for the next 4 years.
Thank you. Thank you, Dennis. Okay.
Board reports.
With regard to anything, Dr. Reardon, Ms. Hugo,
Our next meeting is Thursday.
Thursday for the Planning Commission?
Yep.
Okay, very good. And I think one of the topics you'll be bringing up is the whole gas station moratorium. Mr. Kilmer, anything to add?
I guess I'm still going to serve on the library board,
Okay, that would be very helpful.
and other than that,
Okay,
it's been a good 4 years. It really has, and I learned a lot. It's kind of rough. I started out with a heart attack. and-
yeah,
But,
like the second, third meeting, right?
right. Since then, I've done well, and as I say, it's been a great experience and a lot of good people,
Good.
and thank you.
Well, and you're healthier now too, right?
Right.
So that's good, and that was quite a crazy evening, and we're glad that you recovered from that and are doing well now. So, and I echo, Mr. Lemona's comments. We appreciate you being part of our team, and I think,
It's good fun.
we worked as a group here to accomplish a lot of things, and the one thing that I believe is that this board doesn't have groupthink. While we may come to decisions without yelling and screaming and walking out or what have you, we all have different perspectives. But I think the good part is that we understand that, and we listen to others, each of our concerns, and we try to address those concerns. We don't gloss them over, but and we don't just go along to get along. We voice those concerns, and I would challenge anybody who says otherwise. And so I think it's been a team effort for the past 4 years that we've accomplished as much as we have. And it isn't because anybody here is a dictator or a pirate, taking us where one individual wants us to go. It's where we want to go as a group and where we think the public wants to go. I had somebody ask me, what are you going to do to leave? Well, it's what are we going to do? It isn't me. It isn't just one person. It isn't Mr. Lemata. It's this group that is piloting this ship, and I'm listening to the residents where they want to go. And the one thing that I'm proud of is that, not every decision makes everybody happy, as far as residents. We sometimes have to make decisions that aren't popular with the public because we know what the finances are and what we have to do. But what I'm most proud of with this board is we made decisions that were right for the future of the township. And while we may have groups that want us to spend more money on one thing or another, we've got to look at the overall picture, and I don't think anybody on this board had an agenda. I think everybody here, their agenda was what was good, for the township, and I really appreciate that. And Mark, you've been a big part of that too, and that, everybody participated in that, but I appreciate your time on the board, and we appreciate your service, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And you're still a resident, so maybe you'll come from time to time, I don't know, right? But, and we appreciate your continued service on the McFarland Library Board, too.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun board there.
Yeah, good. Clerk Robertson, anything?
Yes, one final word on last week's election, just some facts and figures. During the 9-day early voting period, we had 5,537 people vote. Our absentee voter, our tabulated total was 10,530. Election day voter total, 8,017, for a total voted group of 24,084. Grand Blanc Township had a 78% voter turnout, and we had 150 same-day voter registrations or verifying registrations. So that was a lot of traffic at the window in that last day. So, but everything has gone swimmingly, and I want to thank the board once again for the support that you've provided for my office and for my staff over the 4-year period, and everything went off with flying colors.
Yeah, the kudos to your staff, Clerk Robertson, because that, the election for a lot of people is just one day. Or maybe if you're coming in 9 days early voting, you think that it's, 9 days. And if you vote absentee, it's, several weeks before. But the public probably doesn't realize the volume of work. But, every one of those, how many absentee ballots?
We had, again, 10,530 tabulated.
So 10,000 envelopes being stuffed, and they aren't just, stick something in the envelope. Those are all hand done, and, that's just the smallest part of it is stuffing envelopes. All the detail that goes into it, so hats off, and
Checking the signatures.
Yes.
Making certain that the ballots are secure. The list is endless, but
Yes.
I'm extremely fortunate, we're extremely fortunate to have the staff that we do.
yes, so hopefully, and it still isn't over, because, they still have to officially,
Yeah, the Board of Canvassers is meeting, I believe, tomorrow.
right?
And they will put the final touches on the process.
Yeah.
We anticipate no difficulty.
Well, hopefully, your staff gets some well-deserved rest.
I've encouraged them, yes.
So I know
Me too.
it hasn't happened yet because they're still working on it.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. White, anything? No. Okay.
And
Mr. Limata?
All I
Mr.
got.
Laddie?
Just one thing, I sent the board an email, and I don't want to talk about the subject of the email tonight, but I think the next step in that, when you read the email, the next step will be Dennis and Scott probably reaching out to you and giving you some direction on that. We'll do that at a later time.
Just a couple of final comments. I know that I won't keep you long, but yeah.
tick-tock, Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Supervisor.
I just want to say, this is a team effort, but we also, we rely so heavily on our department heads, Mr. Limata, Mr. Laddie. We've got a great team here, and we're looking forward to accomplishing even greater things. I think one of the things that benefits the township is that this board has 4 years of under their belt of success, and we can move through some things even quicker now because we have some experience, and great things are happening here. I mean, I sit around tables, several times a week, including today with all the other municipalities in Genesee County, and we're a shining star, I can say, from what we're accomplishing here. The brand-new fire department and DPW building, the parks and recreation program we have with what's going on out there, the $2 million pathway that we're going to build in the spring, the pathway we built down Dort. I mean, those are just the visible things, but I am so proud to be part of this board. One of the things that I don't want to talk about campaigning or any of the politics, but I can say this, that it really humbled me to see our board working so closely together during our bid for reelection. And party was erased. And I don't think anybody that comes to these board meetings sees R or a D by any one of our names. I think they see people that are concerned about where this township's going. and people that are concerned about making sure it goes in the right direction. And I'm very proud of that fact. And it isn't to say that we don't all have our own political beliefs, but we don't bring them to this table. You know, we bring our experience of where our careers have taken us and our life experiences have brought us. And so I think we make great decisions here based on those experiences and not based on party politics. And I am so proud that this group of people has been able to transcend that. And it isn't because we don't have people telling us that we shouldn't do that or that we should. It's because we all want what's best. So I appreciate the friendship that I've gained with each of you and with our professionalism that we've had here. And I'm looking forward to reaching some even higher heights with our township and our accomplishments and doing what's good for this community and for this county. So thank you to all of you. So, and thank you to the residents who believed in what we're doing and brought this board to another term. With that, I
Very well
will,
said, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at this point.
Motion by Bennett, supported by Kilmer.
Yep.
And we are adjourned at 6:48 PM.
All right, thank you.
Right.
PM.